and welcome back to another video. This is Kevin, also known as AKAAWOL. So today you can see I'm going right at it. I'm going to try to shorten the length of this video. The last one was over an hour, and judging from what I can see on YouTube, most of you guys don't watch that long of a video. So the start of this one is obviously, you can see right out the gate, this is different. If you were to go to my website, you would have probably have noticed, if you were looking at the where I did the video about the loops, I did a page on there where I actually showed that there was one additional type that I may have not included. So this is like that. So it looks like this. All right. And all that is basically combining all the strings together and then making this little loop over the sides. Now you can see how I had it divided into two separate groups. That's because I separated the ones from the right and the left and then tried to match up the matching colors, because there's so many colors in this one. There's 20 in this piece. So basically it's the same size as the loop on the previous bag that you can see up there, and actually in the top left over there. Same number of strings, just a different approach to the top of it. This is something I came up with while I was making the other one, and I thought, wow, that would be a really cool idea. I think I should try that. And then I thought, ooh, you know, maybe instead of being so multicolor, maybe we kind of tone it down a bit. So I went with blues, and I really like where this is going. I think it's going to give it a different kind of a look. Oh, and you can see there with the right hand, I keep reaching up to use my Wacom. Not an endorsement thing or anything like that, but Wacom has these tablets, which when I'm drawing out bracelets, it's really handy. But in this case, what it's allowing me to do is I have a drawer that pulls out from my keyboard and my mouse. And in order to better capture the video and do everything, it's easier if I leave the drawer in. So I suddenly realized that instead of having a problem, I can just pull this thing out, use the pen, and I can click to get my random numbers. Which again, I'm using the website random.org, and I gotta say, that's so much easier than rolling the dice every single time. But I understand some of you don't have the means by which, so obviously you could still roll the dice. And as we get further along in here, you would have probably noticed that something's different about how this is turning out. And I can say that's kind of easy. I changed the parameters on the randomizer. And by parameters, I mean now it's picking random numbers between 3 and 8. Now, again, this is one of those things where, you know, maybe you don't have a computer, you don't have means by which to do this. So how could you do this yourself? Well, if you had a 6-sided dice, this is easy. Just take the number 2 and add it to any number that came up. So, right, if you get rolled a 1, now you have a 3. If you roll a 6, you have an 8. So now you essentially have the same thing as what I used for this. It helped make it a little less, I don't know, broken up, I guess. You can see like all of the things are a little bit bigger. I kind of feel like it actually helped make it go a little bit faster. You can see that even with the different starts, joining it is still essentially the same. Just line the two up and go for it. So again, that is just a cutting board, just something I picked up, and I picked up a clip, and together it works out really well. I mean, this is a whole lot easier. I know that, you know, there's a number of bracelet makers out there who insist that pinning something to your pant leg is cool, or to a pillow or whatever. I'm telling you, honestly, this is the way to go. Get yourself a board. it's just so much easier. The ergonomics, everything, you can really work out like what is the perfect board for you. And then later on, maybe, maybe you end up with an easel. I have to admit, I kind of like having an easel around. But for starters, a board will serve you very, very well. This one's kind of neat because it has like a curvature at the one end, like a handle with a great big hole in it. And that handle part, I can kind of stick it between my thighs and hold it up right, even if I don't have it leaning against the desk. So that's a real added bonus with this one in particular. Plus, it's kind of long. Hang on, I got a ruler here. Let's figure out how long this thing is. It is, let's see. There's 30. 30 cm, 40, 33 cm, like 13 inches. So, and then until you get to the handle, and the handle's an added, 10 cm, which is almost 4 inches. So for me, that like ends up being a perfect thing. If you're shorter, maybe you want a different kind of size, whatever. It's whatever is most comfortable for you, whatever keeps you from slouching and helps you to get the work done, I guess. So, okay, so you can see this is where I'm joining the last one on before I actually have to put the two ends together. So 20 strands in each one of those loops. There's 5 loops, that's 100 strands. Another 20 goes into the strap. So it's right around 40 skeins, 42 skeins. So if you're trying to work out, and each one of the lengths is 1/3 of a skein. So if I know that somebody is going to leave a comment like, how long is the string? Well, if you're paying attention, you watch the whole video, I will tell you the lengths of the strings. I just don't always think of it right away. So there you have it. Again, I really like how that's, to me, it's like how when you see like white caps on the ocean and stuff, and you got the deeper colors, and yeah, I really, really like how this one turned out. And it just happened to be like, I have the bins where I keep my string in, and I tried to find as many different colors as possible. And of course, I didn't have like 42 different sets of blue. I'm not even sure that DMC makes 40 different kinds of blue. But I grabbed what I could, and there are some instances where it looks like it's longer than 8. And that's not because I lost track of anything. It's because where one ended and the next one picked up, it was basically like the same color. And I was like, wow, that doesn't seem right. But then giving it a little bit of thought, like, what will I do? I realized that that's what random would do, right? Random isn't about trying to prevent things from happening. It's just things happening. So I let it go. And so like there are a couple instances where it seems like, wow, that goes really a long time. But it was like two, sometimes 3 or 4 even sets of numbers coming together to make that particular long piece. So, and I'm not sure that actually you'll see it in the video. It's one of those things that the owner of this is going to be able to be, sit down with and look at it and be like, oh, there's that example. That's cool. Again, like none of them are like shorter than 3, so that's kind of neat too, And if they didn't see the video, if they only went to the shop and picked it up, they would be like, wouldn't necessarily know that I created these. And I call it like a rule. It's I guess rule is a really strong word for it, but setting some boundaries for how you're going to make a design is what really makes the designs. If you're going to do a zigzag, you just basically said that you're going to do a set number one direction, and then, bring it back the other way and do a set number the other way that's less than the first, right? So, guidelines, rules, whatever you want to call that, that's what creates these patterns and stuff. And if you think about it that way, coming up with your own designs is going to be a whole lot easier, right? Because you'll be able to come up with the whole, oh, I want it to do, and whatever that thing is. And when it happens, it turns out pretty neat. So, all right. So this, it's looks like it's a little bit leaning to one side, but once you get it into the whole barrel shape, that sort of goes away. It's kind of basically because there isn't the symmetry of an equal amount going to the left and an equal amount going to the right, and the knots are a bit different when it comes to just going in one side. So if you're working on this and you think, oh, it's not right, don't sweat it. Once it starts to go into the whole circle, it balances itself out perfectly. So just something to keep in mind there. Oh, you can see I keep my scissors nearby. When you make a loop, well, okay, so like when I was dropping these 20 strings, I was dropping like 20 at a time. And here I'll show you. So this is my tote that I started with before the project, and within, I don't know, half hour, this is what it looked like on the floor. So there you go. So I was dropping 20 at a time and letting it all wind down. And what ended up happening is some of the strings aren't as long as the others. It's still a third of a skein, but not all skeins are exactly even. So once you've created the kumi and then you put the whole thing together, one strand might be longer than the other. And for me, it's extra effort to have to pull through a little piece that's not as long as the others. So I snip those little bits off. So I keep scissors always nearby in case that's ever a thing, because it just drives me insane. So that's why that is. Let's see. Yeah, clicking for new numbers. I was doing like 20 numbers at a time. Anything more than that, it was kind of too big for the screen and kind of easy to lose track of which one I did last. So that was sort of my limit. You can do whatever works for you. If you printed it, I suppose you could cross it off as you went along. If you wanted to go that route. I didn't. I just, I lost track. I would just hit random again, because why not? Just get some new numbers. So yeah, this is what it looks like all joined. Ta-da! All right, no time to waste. Put it together. So again, wrapped it around that little bit, and this time I took my own advice from the last video and bring down 10 rows. I didn't bring it all the way down to the end because I would have had to keep shifting how the thing sits inside that little bit of plastic. But I kind of went out as far as I could and bring down 10 rows, and then I kind of rotate it to bring down the other ones. So that ended up kind of working out pretty cool. Yeah, I really kind of, I don't know, I kind of like this whole randomized thing. It's different, from all of the intense patterns I spent years and years doing. This is fun and kind of goes along quickly. So yeah, I got a couple more that'll be coming out. Really pretty excited about that. Sorry, I had to get something to drink. Okay, so let's see. What can I tell you about joining it? I basically explained this before. It's no different from creating something a double wide. Here it's just 5 times as wide and then joined at the two sides. You always kind of want this, whatever you put in there, cardboard or whatever, its basic purpose isn't to give it structure. Its purpose is so that way you can only see the strings that you necessarily need to work with. It's just time saving is all. That's it. It's not structural. So if you can't, for whatever reason, access something to put inside of there, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. It's just going to slow you down. If you grab a string from the other side and tie it in there, you essentially won't have a cylinder anymore. I don't know what you'll have, but you won't be happy with it, and you'll have to go backwards. So it basically is there to help save you from that kind of trouble. But like I said, you can just use cardboard, a piece of whatever that you can find something on the ground likely, go to fast food place, get a drink. When you're done with the drink, wash it out and cut out a piece of that, what is it, wax covered paper, and use that if you had to. So, or if you're in a real poor country, you can just, find something that somebody's dumped on the ground. It seems to me like every time I've gone somewhere where it's poor, there's like more trash. So just a fact of life. That's an unfortunate fact of life, but that's, I suppose, the way it goes. But yeah, I'd like to have fancier stuff. I'd love it to be something really neat, like a pretty piece of wood or something to stick in there, because that would be great for the videos, but it's not necessary. I just realized the things I actually need are not necessary. Wait, K-N-O-T, necessary. I love a good pun. All right, so yeah, there's one of those rows where it looked like it kind of went for a while. Eh? Nice dark blue. But yeah. Oh, one of the things that I like to do too is I typically will set aside the number of strings. Like, if I'm going to do the 10 rows, right, I'll set aside the 10 and kind of get everything else out of the way so I don't have to keep counting it. Because I think you could see there for a moment ago, I was busy trying to count how many there were, which obviously, since I only did one more row, it must have been 9. That said, I do double check and triple check and stuff, because if you watched the last video, you saw that something went wrong, and yeah, it's better safe than sorry. So, all right, this is where, yeah, I'm going to bring this down to just 10 short of the end of that other V, right? So essentially each one now of the groups of 10 coming down end up at the same place. So there's 20 at the top, even though it's set up differently. I'm going to end up with 10 to the right and 10 to the left in a zigzag formation at the bottom, just like the first bag, even though the top is different. Kind of getting a little bit out of frame there, I guess, but you can still see what I'm doing. It's a fun project. If you've got the string, if you've got the time, I definitely recommend it. If you run into trouble, send a message or leave a comment or whatever. If there's anything I can do to help, I'll try to help. I had one person who was trying to do something like this, ran into a problem, and apparently she says that my last video actually helped her to figure out what she had done wrong, and I'm still looking forward to that. I'll probably end up posting a picture of the finished product on my webpage, because I'm really pleased with how well her project was going so far, but apparently at the end something happened. So I wish her the best of luck. Hopefully she's watching this and leave me a comment or something. Actually, yeah, since she's on Instagram, yeah, I'm sure I'll end up seeing a picture of it. So that'll be cool. Anyways, hopefully this part is helpful. Hopefully this gets you started. And then you can see I came up with some stuff that I wanted to try for the end of this. So don't go anywhere, and because I have some big ideas. We'll see how that goes. Usually big ideas just means more trouble, right? No, not necessarily, I guess. But yeah. If you have ideas or questions about how to do something, leave me comments on that stuff too, because otherwise I'm just going to do videos on things that, you know, ideas and things that I want to work on. So if you've got your own thoughts of things that you want to see done, you're going to have to let me know, because I have no idea. All right. So I'm going to let you to watch this rose finish, and I'm going to go take a break.
So what do we have here?
I am trying to fix a problem that I had with the other bag. When I was making this thing, I didn't get this into a nice spiral because there's so many colors I couldn't discern the pattern. So this time, because this is kind of the same, I'm going to use string for a marker, and that way maybe I can kind of keep track of where the 5 points were, because the last time that didn't work out so well.
What is that clinky thing?
Oh, it's my reusable straw. It's colorful. I thought it would be better. Besides, I couldn't find like a regular pencil. Like seriously, like looked all around the house. Like somehow we don't own a pencil. Don't ask me why. I don't know. We have like mechanical pencils and stuff, but it has to be. I wanted these to be like all kind of the same sort of size, you know. So like a straw just suddenly like, oh, that makes sense. I had a smaller straw, and I suddenly realized like, oh, I'm going to put 4 strands of string through these things. There is no way I want to try to do that with like a teeny tiny straw. So, oh, and this string is leftover scrap from something else. I don't even know. I have like a huge bag of scrap string that I never know what to do with, and like this is perfect, like, because after I get done actually doing the base, I'll just cut these pieces off. So this is literally just a real temporary solution to be able to track where the 5 starting points are. So that's, yeah, this is completely rubbish. And of course now I get to make this. Yay. So yeah, it's clean. Oh, and I have a clamp. I found another clamp. This time I get to hold my clipboard in place. And I have an idea for an extra cool trick for that. So yeah, this is, if people have gotten this far in the video, there's a huge payout coming. So that's awesome. All right. All right, there we go. Cool. Okay, so wasting no time, I get down to putting these loops to use. So there's my big clip, and what I did was I took my one clipboard, which is skinnier, and another, well, they're not really clipboards, they're cutting boards, as one that's slightly longer, and clamped them down to the table. And this left a little overhang in the back, which makes it so that way my clip is easy to pull out and use. Oh, right there, that is one of those like disposable biodegradable cups or something left over from the holidays, and I found that it was the only thing I really had that I could just kind of stick inside of it the bag to kind of help it keep its shape while I'm working it. Here you can see I put the little red string over the first 2 strings that I'm joining together and put that at the top of each one of these. So now they're all spaced out exactly evenly, and it gives me a guideline to be able to tell where that particular part started from. You can see I flipped the clamp over because turns out I still want to be able to access that drawer where my mouse and stuff is. Yeah, it was kind of a little bit of a problem. So, but easily corrected. All I did was turn the clamp over. And you can see how the 2 boards are actually put together, and see how easy it was to move that clamp. And you can also see I have my little draw through tool. And I realized something about that. If you don't have access to a store that sells like that kind of thing, that's okay. That sort of a tool could be substituted if you've got yourself a long needle and just, string up a little bit of string at the end of it. You can use it to pull the strands that you've completed or that you're done with up through the middle. So hopefully that helps out. Again, I get what it means to be on a limited budget, to not have the funds to do something. So if there's a cheaper workaround, I'm going to try to share that with you, because basically looking at where in the world my viewers are, you guys are absolutely all around the globe. And I know that not everybody has like the greatest opportunities. So I'm going to try to make this for everyone. I really think this should be a thing for everyone. Like these little bags, these could be so useful. I mean, whether you wanted it as a little medicine bag, you want to keep your favorite little charms near you in that special kind of way, or if you wanted to use it for your possessions of, like say your money or cards or your identification card, whatever, it's an easy thing that you could, tuck inside of a shirt or whatever if you were in a bad neighborhood, So, I mean, it's got practical uses besides just being something pretty and fun. So, I know my wife's spoken about, using it for going off for lunch, because typically if you're going out to lunch, what do you need? You just need your identification card in case, any kind of problem with the law or whatever. And you need a little bit of money. Maybe you need a credit card in case you end up finding yourself someplace more expensive than you had the money for, whatever. Just a couple little things, easy peasy, you don't have to carry a whole big, bag or something around. It's just something small like this works. Trying to keep this video shorter and lighter than the last one. Last one I tried to give a lot of explanation as to what I was doing. Essentially, this is the same thing. I'm reducing the number of strings is in an orderly kind of fashion in order to try to cause the bass to come together in a nice, smooth kind of way. So yeah, if you don't quite understand how to do that, the last video is probably a whole lot more helpful. In this case, I thought that having these little pieces of string or whatever would help to not run into any kind of problems in regards to like keep doing the same thing all the way around. And I think where I did sort of still run into a problem was that all the strings looked alike. So I think maybe the better way, instead of doing 5 red ones, might have been to do like 5 red and 1 yellow or something. So that way I could start at the yellow one and then come around and know that I made it my way back to the very first one. Because I don't know about you guys, I'm easily distracted, and I think I kind of did one of the steps an additional time over one of the other bits, and then I had to sort of like figure that out. And it's just, I don't know. I everything I do is about trying to make it easier for the next time around. And sometimes that works out great, sometimes not so much. But at least if you try to make it easier, you're more likely to end up with a happier results than just trying to wing it every time, because that just never seems to work. So, but you can see that with every time I pull a string through, it's just one less string to have to deal with, and it just gets a little faster and a little faster, and you get down to a point where that little red nub at the end stops wanting to go through the hole. And at that point, you can pull them all through and you're done, because when you tie that off, it's barely a little blip on the bag itself in the center. So, in fact, it actually looks pretty cool. To make that knot, I take the same strings I just pulled through at the end and kind of give them a twist before I put it into a knot, and that helps make sure that it comes out really sort of, I don't know, kind of awesome. So hopefully that helps you. But you can see, like this, admittedly, these things are a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of knots that goes into something like this. These things take days, you know, and I'm not talking like couple hours every day kind of thing, like days. I'm talking like I dedicate most of my waking hours towards doing this. So yeah, that's kind of a thing. Oh, there, one of the strings wasn't quite right. It didn't pull through properly. It must have gotten dropped as I was dragging it in. And yeah, it was driving me insane. I didn't want to get caught and be a problem later on. So I pulled the whole thing off, got that string through, got it fixed. But the clipping it this way, having it anchored to the desk and having it the clip like this, yeah, definitely cool. Definitely plan on doing that again. Way, way easier. If you're young and you live with your parents kind of thing, yeah, be careful. Don't destroy their table. You know, don't, you know, like, got a nice dining room table. This might not be the way to do it. But I'm sure you can find a different way. I'm sure if you just clip the two boards together and had that sitting on your lap, it'd probably work okay too. So, but I don't want like angry comments from parents like, why did you tell my kid he killed my table? It'd be really bad. No. Not that your parents sound like that. Maybe mine did, but maybe yours don't. Anyways, yeah, you can kind of tell by what's left that I'm getting ever closer to the end, and having to kind of almost every other string now that's coming through from the left side is getting dropped. And just a couple knots and drop a string, couple knots, drop a string. So that's what it takes. I was going to do a different camera angle on this and try to get a better view of that, but I got so excited about being near done to this project, and it was so pretty that, yeah, any thoughts of doing extra stuff, I'm lucky I videoed it at all. I mean, I was really kind of excited about this one. So, all right. So, yeah, if you have any questions, anything like that, leave me comments, and I will try to get back to all of them. Might not be right away, but I will try to reply to all the comments. So, yeah. Yeah, and then, oh, and because those little red strings are just they're garbage strings anyways, once you get done with the whole thing, you just cut it and pull it, and it comes right out. So if you need to have markers for whatever reason to keep track of where you are on a pattern, that's an absolutely brilliant way of doing it. All right, there I'm going to pull all the strings through, cut these bits, and we'll take a look and see how it turns out. All right, well, there we have it. It is all finished with the exception of the strap. Didn't turn out bad at all. I really like it. It's still about the same size as the other one. It just changes how these things kind of come together. So that's going to be kind of interesting. And that's what the base turned out like. So still not quite what I had in mind, but I think I have an better understanding now. I thought before I was just confused on the 5 points. But that said, I've actually come up with at least a couple additional ideas as to how I might make it, in fact, different. So that's what I'm going to explore in the next one. Really happy with the turnout, though, I have to say. It kind of reminds me of the ocean, you know, so kind of fun. So that's it for now. Until next time, don't get your strings in a bunch. So which one do you like better?
I'm really torn.
But if you had to pick one.
One's really colorful and the other one's really pretty.
So colorful isn't pretty?
It's pretty, but it's different.
Different's good.